Hey y'all, welcome back to Lounge with Lila. It's Alondra, your host and speaker. Y'all, I'm so excited that I'm slurring my words. But welcome back to another episode. On this podcast, we talk all things mindset, positivity, empowerment, self. All things self. So self-growth, self-actualization, self-empowerment, anything that's going to help you achieve your best self, which obviously, as we all know, your best self isn't a destination. It's a continuing journey. That's what we discuss on this podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for spending time with me. Sorry guys if I keep sniffling. Whew, I've been drinking a lot of water. I actually probably should go get some water. We're back. Woo! So I sent out an email this morning. It was titled Success is a Perspective. And it's something that I really want to talk about. I remember one time I think I was like 19. I had this mentor and she would always tell me this. She would always say, success has to be in you before it's around you. And this lady was super successful. And I just looked up to her. I said, wow, I just one day I'm going to be like her. But anyways, she always said that, and that stuck with me obviously now years later. I always think about it. And she would go on to talk about how success is something that you envision and believe for yourself. So it's enough to think about successful things. I think it's safe to say we all like beauty, we all like success, we're all inspired by aesthetics, right? Things that look good. Maybe not everybody, but if you're listening to this, I'm pretty sure you are probably in some way or shape or form think you're successful. Or if you don't think you're successful, you wonder how to become successful, you study about it, you're inquisitive, you're, curious about it, whatever the case may be. So she would tell me that you have to envision it and believe it for yourself. She would always tell me the things that I have, if I didn't feel worthy to have it, it would mean nothing. That's why there's these cases where people, and sometimes I even look at myself, and I have to say this, where we work at something consistently, we refine it, we achieve, we accomplish, we finish a goal, whatever, we hit a goal, we're like, wow, and we still don't feel satisfied. We still feel a void. We still feel like we aren't doing enough. That goes back to what my mentor was saying. You have to be in a state of almost acceptance of the things you have achieved. You have to be in acceptance with who you are. You have to be in acceptance for in the present moment. There may be things that you want or things you aspire to have, or even a person you want to change your identity. You want to change the things and the habits that you have right now. In order to progress, you have to be in an acceptance state. My therapist recently also talked to me about this. And she'd always tell me, I think that right now, what you're finding difficult to do is accept. Oh, y'all. Father God, please. Clear my sinuses because your girl is trying here. Oh, y'all, excuse me. But yeah, my therapist would tell me you need to get in a state of acceptance, and she would elaborate it for me, but there's a phrase for it, and if I can find it, I'll put it on the screen for you guys. She would always tell me there are things that you have done and you haven't even sat and celebrated it. You haven't even sat with it and gave yourself a pat on the back, admired yourself. You know what I'm saying? Say, wow. Every time you do something you say you're going to do, clap for yourself. Believe that the things, let's say you haven't done anything. Clap for the person you are right now. Clap for the fact that there's something you want to add to your life. Clap for the fact that you actually are taking initiative to make a change in your life. Be graceful with yourself. And I think that's what this ties this whole topic of success is in you. Success is a perspective. So we can bring this back to being successful is a matter of how you feel about yourself. There's just people who don't know what is inside of them. Just knowing that as God's children, so let's bring this back to God, and how if you've been listening to me, I know I just launched, but if you know the type of content I put out, I'm very God-centered. I'm very grounded in God, and God is my everything. So I always go back to God. Always. Anytime I'm in a state of doubt, I'm in a state of wondering or confusion. Obviously, we know confusion doesn't come from God. But anytime I fall into the flesh and I fall into that thought trap, I always bring myself back to who God says I am and who God has called me to be. God has given us a spirit of faith and strength and positivity and hope. You know, when you don't have hope and you've reached rock bottom and you feel like there's no way out, or you feel like, I don't know, you just feel like you're in a never-ending cycle of BS, that's the enemy. God doesn't want you to feel that way. God wants you to feel successful. He wants you to feel positive. He wants you to feel good. He wants you to feel abundant. I remember this Bible verse, and oh, y'all, if I could quote it, I'll put it on the screen. I'm going to find it. But it says, and I should know it, but it basically goes something like, even God cares for orchids in the field that will never be seen. Because we obviously think about the planet and Earth, and we think about how, I believe they say only 5% of oceans have been discovered. There's so much more that man has yet to reach physically, obviously, right? Even visually, because we're not God. You know, I think about the Titanic and stuff, and how the people who made the Titanic said not even God could bring it down, and look what happened, right? So I think about how if God can care for the orchids in the field that will never be seen, because we have a vast just surface area, right, on Earth, things that many people have not seen. There are orchids that are bloomed, that are beautiful, that are healthy, and they get sunshine, and God makes it rain for them, right? And God takes care of them. What in our right mind makes us think that God is not going to make sure we good? If you're watching this or listening to this right now, think of a time where you were short on your rent, but you still have your apartment. I'm going to shut up. I'm going to sit still, and I'm going to keep my mouth closed and not complain. Think of a time where you were sick and you thought you were going to die. Literally. When I got COVID like 3 years ago, I couldn't get out of bed. I literally thought I was going to die. Prayer, obviously. But just think of a time when, I don't know, think of like some of the many failures that you've had and you never thought you were going to find a solution. Think of the grit and the tenacity that you have. That's nothing but God. You know, that's an internal strength. That's the spirit. So anyways, going back, I know if you listen to my podcast, I go off many tangents when I speak, because my mind is like, I constantly have like 50 million little dots running through my mind. But, so success is a perspective. It's a matter of reminding yourself that even without doing anything, you already have the qualities and the capabilities that God needs you to have. When you remind yourself of that, it's so much easier to navigate life. You know what I'm saying? Even I have to have these conversations with myself almost daily of like, Alondra, do you know who you are because of what God said? Because of who God said you are? And I be sitting there like, wow, I really am that girl. Not even because I think I am, but because like it was already written. You know what I'm saying? Like, why are we fighting with laws and what's the word I'm looking for? Why are we fighting with laws and scripture, in science, about who we are as human beings, our minds, our brain power, our creativity, our flow? Like, it's something that cannot be stopped because God made us in his image. Look at how God spoke life into life. He spoke the things that were created, just like you have power over your life to do whatever you want, to create whatever you want, and don't let nobody tell you no different, period. Like, I refuse to let anyone tell me that I can't do the things that I want. I don't care who it is. I always go back to God and the promise that he's given me. That's another thing. Let people call you crazy. Let people think that you're never going to make it. Let them laugh at you. Nobody knows the promise that you and God have. Nobody knows the vision that God has put in your mind but you. That's why you have the power to carry out anything that it is that you want to do. And always bring yourself back to that. Every time you lose hope or you fail it's okay. It's a part of the process. It's only making you stronger. It's only strengthening your faith. It's just fortifying you and who you are. Water break. Woo, y'all. When I say this water is so good, no estoy mintiendo, I promise. I'm not lying. Okay. Don't let your environment fool you. Don't let your surroundings fool you. Don't let the things you see fool you, right? Hebrews 11:11. Faith is the thing not seen but hoped for. I hope that's Hebrews 11:11 because that's one of my favorite Bible verses. So we're going to hope it's Hebrews 11:11. But faith is the things not seen but hoped for. Hope, faith, trust, and belief, those are like the strongest character traits you can have. To have hope in the most scariest moments. To have faith when it looks like all odds are against you. To have belief when things are coming at you. You know what I'm saying? To still stand 10 toes down in the things that you believe in. When it seems like the whole world is caving in on you. You as a soldier, okay? You're strong and you got this, okay? Just remind yourself. Do things that will uplift you. Get out of your head, okay? Oh, there's another Bible verse I just thought of. It says something about how the heart lies or something. But how even our brain, our thoughts, to listen to your mind, the many things that just transcend it, bro. Like, lo tiene que dejar. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to let the thoughts of your mind pass through. Because, I mean, let's be honest. Sometimes I be thinking about the most scary stuff. I'm like, how did I just think about that? We have to have discernment. And you're never going to be at a place where you 100% know. I doubt that. I mean, all the successful people I listen to and look up to, they never say like, I'm going to 100. Even my mother, I look up to my mother like, I don't know what. She's like my number one role model. She's never told, like, she's always said like God is like her North Star. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's just most times you just don't know. But that's like, you have God. God, if you knew what to do, God wouldn't have a job. And a pastor said this in a sermon. If you knew what to do, you wouldn't need God. If God didn't give you these situations to strengthen your faith, you wouldn't talk to God. You know, I think it was T.D. Jakes, he said, you know, God puts you in situations that brings you down to your knees so that you can have this relationship with him. But God is a faithful God, and God rewards you when you're diligent and when you seek him. There's so many Bible verses that talk about that. Trust in God and just have faith. Stay the course. Don't give up. God doesn't want you to give up. God doesn't want you to feel like you're unsuccessful. God doesn't want you to feel like you don't already got it in you, because you got it in you. You have all you need. You're resourceful. Always bring yourself back to you are deserving and you are worthy of success. That is an affirmation I always say. And I'm always having conversations with God. And it's like God is always putting these visions in my head. I'd be like, God, okay. You know what I'm saying? But God will always put these things in your head. And if you can think it, and if it brings you peace and it's serene, that's God. So I think I'm going to leave it here. Like I said, I send emails out almost every month, maybe bi-monthly. But they're called positivity doses. And I like to talk about just things that are uplifting. I think that if you have the desire to share good, helpful things, do it. Okay? Have faith over fear. And do good things even if it scares you. I think that, well, I know that if it scares you, 9.9 times out of 10, you should do it. I promise you, you're going to just like burst as a person. It's like we're in this shell. It's like I want to think of it like a shell or like a seed, right? With multiple layers. Like let's say 1,000,000,000 layers. Every time, 1,000,000,000, because I feel like we go through so many things in life. Let's say every time you decide to do something that scares the living out of you, you break a shell, you break a shell, you break a shell, you break the casting, you keep breaking until like one day you just bloom. Do the things that scare you. 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 Like, you guys, I went to Bali and Springs and I'm so proud of myself because I did the cold plunge for 10 seconds. You guys can laugh. But last time I did it for not even a second, I put my foot in. And then I literally thought my foot fell off. So I went back out. But I did it. I put my whole body in for 10 seconds and then I jumped right back out there. But y'all, so worth it. It was a very scary moment, but it was very much worth it. Anyways, y'all, back to the bi-monthly emails. Yes, so you can subscribe at holisticgola.com. There'll be like a little pop-up. It'll say join HL monthly emails or something like that. You just type in your email and submit. But thank you guys so much for listening. I hope that this episode just spoke to you in a way that encouraged you to just keep fighting the good fight, to keep staying the course, to keep believing yourself, and to not let nobody play with you, because you are who God says you are. And that in itself is independent of anything else. Literally. Who you are is independent of anything else. Nobody can tell you anything because God has already declared that you are great, that you are noble, that you are amazing, that you are worthy of success, you're worthy of abundance, you're worthy of good things. Always tell yourself that, period. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Bye.